Welcome to Gut Punch, the podcast that explores life-changing moments. Hosted by Kathryn Lancioni, a seasoned educator with personal insights into resilience. Kathryn shares how life can change in an instant, shaping our path forward. Each episode features inspiring guests who face their own gut punch moments. Guests share their journeys through loss, upheaval, and triumph. What to expect: honest conversations, lessons in resilience, inspiration for growth. Join Kathryn as she highlights courage and perseverance in every story. Gut Punch is a reminder that there is always a path forward. Be part of the conversation. Register now to join Kathryn for today's journey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Gut Punch. My name is Kathryn Lancioni, and I'm your host for today's episode. Today, we're joined by Chen Lizra, who is coming to us from Portugal. And we met on LinkedIn, and I just love what she's doing and just love everything about her being, shall we say. So I just thought she'd be a great guest on the show. So Chen, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, what a warm welcome. Oh my God, you lift my heart. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. So as I mentioned, like you and I got to know each other through LinkedIn. And for those of you that are dubious of LinkedIn that are listening, it really does work if you commit to it. And as I said, I'm so touched with your background, so impressed with your background. I'm so touched by the work that you're doing. And I won't do it justice if I try to introduce you. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself and your background?
Yes, so I'm the founder of the Power of Somatic Intelligence. We're a company that specializes in working with high-achieving women, and we do healing and embodiment to help women position themselves to win and lead by helping them, first of all, heal what is blocking them, and then use their best, most feminine advantage. And know that does not mean sleeping with everyone, but it does mean that coming into a place where you're in your power and you're in your feminine energy, which a lot of women that switch to masculine kind of lose their edge, because that's where they're in their natural, right? So it's like we help them. I call myself a little bit of the emotional plumber. Like I can find the root cause of anything that's not working almost like very quickly, and then go open it. And then from there, why stop there when you can go to like, hey, let's make all your dreams come true. So clients find love and they get promoted, and so whatever was blocking you, let's get it flowing again.
Well, and it is so much about blockages, right? And I think part of it is vulnerability, right? It's really scary for people, for women specifically, and guys, but for both, everyone, to admit that there are challenges. We are so, as a society, conditioned to the question of, oh, hey, how's it going? And most people say, regardless of the language, oh, I'm good. How are you? Right? And it takes courage to say to someone, I'm not okay, or I'm really having a bad day. And
that's when you're communicating it. That's when you're communicating it out. Let's talk for a minute. Let's pull it back 1 minute.
Okay.
What about us with us? There are people that don't know that there's a problem, and there are people that know there's a problem, but they don't know how to solve it.
Or they're afraid, or they get used to it as being their norm. I had a friend, a male friend, who was going through something. And I said to him one day, I'm like, how's it going? I'm like, how are you adjusting? He goes, it's my new normal.
What was the issue though?
Custody battle over a child.
So what was the new normal? The new normal was
what? The new normal was not knowing whether or not he was going to have access to his daughter, right? And then suddenly the new
right there.
Right, so go ahead.
Right there, when really there's a difficulty to drop in deeper and face the fear that you're feeling. Because what if I lose, right? So the vulnerability that you're talking about, such a good word you picked, is about being able to land into what I have a hard time holding in my body, processing and moving through. The thing is that when we're able to drop in deeper and meet those difficult emotions and process them, we have more capacity.
That's right. So on the show, we've had, we're just finishing up season 2, and thank you. Yes. It has been an unexpectedly, I don't know, what has gone from an idea, then became a passion project, has now become like a thing. It's become a movement. And I'm delighted to say we have people like yourself, we have guests from all over the world, and we have listeners from all over the world. And with all of that, we hear about challenges, gut punches, as the show is called, that people face from all over the world. So in your experience working with people, spoke to someone in one of the most recent episodes where we were talking about something that he had been through, another guy. He said he didn't say it the way that I said it, but basically it's like when something bad happens, when you have a gut punch, right? Like life is filled with the unexpected, right? Life is not a linear path. And I think the challenge that we as society face, we kind of created ourselves, right? You grow up in a household and you believe when you're little, like, I don't care what the society is, like where you grew up, whether you're in Portugal, France, Spain, or the US or Australia, whatever. The question a parent asks to their child is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Right.
Mhm.
And it gets there. You start, well, if you're going to go to university, what are you going to major in? And then what do you want to be when you grow up? And the reality is most of us don't know what we're going to be when we grow up. We just start doing something and you connect the dots and you ultimately get somewhere. But then somewhere along the way, something happens to you, whether it's professional, personal, a combination of the two, that just stuns you. And usually there are two paths. One is to let yourself move forward. And that might be hard to do, but you let it happen. And two is to curl up in a ball and cry and deny that it ever happened. And you get through it, but then you try to hide, right? What is it that you think is the change? How is it or why is it that some people choose to curl up in a ball and cry and other people decide to move forward based upon the folks that you've worked with in the past? Because there's two different ways of approaching it.
Well, as a somatic coach, I can say that a lot of people have a hard time meeting what is there because they don't know how to process it.
Okay.
So just to explain, when we go through something that is traumatic for us, when you're saying gut punch, like someone, like I can actually feel the lack of air, right? Like someone punches you in the gut and you go like, and it's like, you can't even breathe, right? It's like, it's such a knockout as if you fell off the horse. And not only did you fall off the horse, a lot of times your leg is still tied to the horse and it's running and you're bouncing in the back and you don't know how to get better. And to be able to move through something like that, you have to be able to meet the most difficult, excruciating feelings, process them and release them. The problem is that when something traumatic happens, we don't know how to release.
Yeah.
And feeling for the sake of feeling, I hear this all the time, like, what's the point of feeling this again? I felt it a million times and it's still here. When you're feeling by yourself something that was traumatic, it doesn't necessarily release. So if you're in a loop and you don't know how to come out of it, you don't want to touch it.
Yeah.
You're just trying to avoid it. What I do, for example, is I know how to activate in the body to help the person activate the process. Like think of little kids, right? Do you have children?
I do.
When they were young, really small, were there moments where they suddenly like cry or they get upset and it's like,
oh, they fall to the ground and have a tantrum and you wind up like standing there being like, really? Or walking over them sometimes.
right.
Yeah.
Now, certain times, did you put the child on you and kind of on your chest and kind of
Right.
caress them and right? And what happens when you do that? After a certain amount of time, 5, 10, 15 minutes, they calm down and then they get up, we're ready to play again, right? When they're young. What did you actually do when you did that? You regulated with them, you felt with them, and they felt you feeling them. And when you did that with them, it helped them process and discharge from the body. And when some of that difficult emotion that was too difficult for a young nervous system like theirs met yours and you helped them and they let that go, they could continue on. What happens is that when there's something that happens that is really traumatic for us and that mechanism gets stuck, because we come to that feeling and we can't feel it. It feels too big for our nervous system. We shut down to protect ourselves, which is not a bad thing. Because if not, you end up in a mental hospital or running away to drugs or food or whatever, alcohol. So you shut that down. And now you don't know how to activate that mechanism again. So a somatic coach that specializes in this knows how to help you activate it back. So just to give you an example, I worked not too long ago with somebody whose ex-husband committed suicide. And she was holding such difficult emotions in the body. It was so hard to process. They have a child together. And then, being able to process that and release that, the person is now thriving. And it was super hard to move through. She couldn't do that on her own. She needed someone to move that with her.
Do you feel that when people go through like super traumatic experiences like that one, or say a car crash or whatever, do they have to really, really acknowledge all of the feelings, or is it okay to keep some of them on the shelf?
I don't think that's the right question, in my opinion. I think it's more about, because what needs to be met, you'll feel it in your body. Your body is the one that tells you, right? This is why we call this somatic intelligence, the wisdom of your body, because it's like the body knows and the body guides you to what you need So to me, we have to reframe that question. It's more about what do I need to do to be able to meet that and release that? And what we need is someone to feel with us. Not like a child where we put them on the chest now, but somebody to be with us, right? Like look at, for example, you know who Steve Irwin was in Australia, the one, right? Like he was such a legend. Did you notice that his children don't have trauma?
It's very true.
And why don't they have trauma? They don't have a problem succeeding. They don't have a problem falling in love because the mother, Terry, and I was really curious as a somatic coach. So I went and watched all of the interviews from the minute he died with her to understand what she did. I was like, oh, that is so interesting. And you can see if there's a trauma or not because you're blocked in something. They're not blocked in anything. And what she did, she went to get help to understand how to process grief because this was so big. And she was taught that she needed to make room for that and to feel with them. And she allowed them to feel and to cry together and to be together and to move through that. So they learned to move through the grief rather than suppress it, grief and pain. So they're very healthy, emotionally able to do everything in their life that they wanted to, despite going through something very traumatic, because someone felt with them and allowed room for it.
So it sounds like the key to processing some of this stuff is, I'm not going to say a grief partner or a trauma partner, but it's almost like that, like having a coach or a person that you can work through the emotions with. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. That's fair to say because you see, the thing is that when the people in our lives, someone did a program with me not too long ago, and she said to me, "What's the difference between a friend feeling with me and you feeling with me?" I said, "That's such a great question."
That is a
And
great
then we
question.
started doing and then we started doing the program. And I said, well, that's what we're going to do in the program. You're going to learn in a minute. And then I started to teach them how to feel in a way that helps to heal.
Your client asked you, what is the difference between working through trauma with a friend versus working through trauma with you? That was the question that your client
Yeah. And I said that it's about feeling together. Oh yeah, I know what I wanted to say is that a lot of the times people don't really feel with us. They say, "Oh, let me help you with it," but what they're trying to do is fix. As soon as you're done with the sentence of what happened, someone jumps in and tries to tell you, "Do this, do that, do that." That's not feeling with you, right? When someone's feeling with you, their nervous system has to be with you the same way we describe that baby. And that's a technique that you can learn, but it's not about fixing something. On the contrary, if someone needs to be felt and you're trying to fix, you're going to make a mess out of it.
So just building on what we're talking about here. So when a person goes through a traumatic experience, either something that they themselves go through or something that a partner or a child goes through, they have to, it's really on the person, right, to listen to themselves internally, their conscious, help them determine what feelings they need to work through. This is a question, I think, versus which feelings are okay to let go. Is that fair?
I think you're making it too cognitive.
Okay.
So you're thinking about it like trying to analyze and create a system from it. I can tell how analytical you are and how you love creating systems. Like, yeah, exactly. I can tell your personality right there.
Yeah.
But the truth is, feelings don't work like that. It's not like you're not going, oh, you're going to feel that and that much. And when it's like, we can't create a system. It's about someone helping guide you to bring whatever needs to come to the surface, come to the surface. And sometimes, it's clear and sometimes it's not clear at the beginning. And sometimes it's just what happened. And sometimes it triggered something from the past that happened. It's not, depends on what is there. This is why it's important to have someone do it with you that knows. Because if you're going through a gut punch kind of moment and you're feeling like you're falling apart, do you want to continue and drag it for a long time, or do you want to come out of it as soon as possible, the fastest that you can? Now, the fastest is not about somebody moving you through faster. It's about what your body can contain. When I'm working with clients, one of the most important things is to pay attention to what their body says, okay and not okay. I was with a client about 2 weeks ago, and this client, I can't tell the story because it's too personal to share, but that person cannot, because of what they've gone through, which was horrific, really land into their body the way other people can. They need a pace that's super slow. And that's just what it is. And no matter what we're going to do, the body's not going to be able to move faster. And sometimes we can be impatient. We want to go faster because we go like, no fast forward button. Let's go. Well, no, it doesn't work like that. And I always say to every client, I look at them and they always get upset at the beginning. I go like, you're not the boss. And they're like, what? And I go like, I'm not the boss either. Your body is our boss.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you're going to learn is that part of learning somatic intelligence and part of working with that is about learning to listen inward to what your specific body says and learning to understand how the body communicates with you, to understand the messages, to understand how to now move and navigate this to where you're trying to get to. It's not one solution fits all.
Why is it that with traumatic experiences, especially like severe ones, why is it that sometimes the magnitude or the ramifications of what you've been through hit you much later? So for example, I'll use myself. So I shared with you, if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, listen to episodes 1 through 3 of season 1 of the podcast. I went through a crazy experience in March of 2024 and, almost died, medically induced coma. It's crazy. And here I am, 21 months, almost to the day out, but that's crazy. And only in the past 2 months has the magnitude of what I've been through really hit me, right? My question is, why is it that sometimes the magnifications of the ramifications or magnification of what one's been through takes time to hit? And I'll use my own experience. Crazy health trauma, March of 2024. Here we are almost 21 months later to the date. And only in the past, I'd say 2 to 3 months, has kind of the totality of what I went through really hit me. And it's hard to process. And I talk about it, right? Like I do. But when I think about it, it's very, very different. Now, my own theory on why it kind of took a while to hit is because mentally, I was so focused on getting better that my mind and my emotions connected to those thoughts were distracted by that. But now that I've done the PT, done the OT, had the surgery, blah, 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 and whatever normal is, right, has set back in, my mind has more time to reflect. Why is that?
I'm going to say my theory.
Please.
And what I think happened here. My guess is, when you have a wound, let's say a cut, your body needs to put a lot of energy into the place in order to heal it. And then you suddenly feel, let's say, like, oh, I'm exhausted, or, so mentally you wanted to work on stuff, but your body was using a lot of energy to heal. Because the body went through trauma, not just yourself went through trauma, the body itself went through trauma. So first, I think that was the first part. Your body needed that energy in order, and it's too much. You can't heal this and heal this. Like, there's a capacity that you have. And again, because of the wisdom in the body, we kind of go, what can we go through? Now, having to heal physically from something so hard, including the fact that you almost died, which is terrifying. It's terrifying.
Yes.
To meet our own potential death. So you also needed time before you would be ready to meet it. And we can only do that when we feel strong enough physically to do that. If we feel weak, how are we going to meet something that we know is going to weaken us to begin with?
Yeah.
And it's like a wounded animal going, let me wound myself more right now. Right? Like, we need that strength to be able to emotionally meet what is there, because what is there is really difficult. As humans, we're trying to avoid death all the time. And when I say avoid death, it's as simple as, everybody trying nowadays to freeze at 20 years old. What is that? What is that? Freezing at 20 years old is because everybody's afraid to meet their death.
Yeah.
As you're aging, you're starting to feel death come closer to you, and it's uncomfortable because this brings thoughts and emotions that are not comfortable. So we're trying to pretend like it's not happening. We're trying to push it really far away, and then maybe we're not going to have to deal with it. But the reality is that we're killing a process that's there that prepares us gradually. Death is a process that, unless something happens that's traumatic, comes as a gradual process.
Yes.
And then with the age, we get prepared for it little by little if we come to terms with the changes, right? So we're terrified of death.
Yes.
The one thing that we don't do is sit there and come to terms with the fact that we're going to die. And then someone dies in your life, let's say from old age. They didn't even die from a trauma. And it was someone really close to you. And what happened? You meet your own death and their death. Because the minute they die, they're so close to you, you feel that you're going to die too. And there's an awakening moment in that moment. And then your whole body goes to sleep again into, it's going to come one day, right? But for that moment, you were there and you felt it. Those moments are moments of awakening that have so much power that if we direct them in the right direction, have so much potential for transformation and amazing things. But most of the time we avoid them. So for me, your body was very wise. I hear in your tone and what you're saying, you're a little mad at your body. You're a little mad at not being able to do it before. You're like a high achiever. You like things to go quick. You go check, check, check. Why couldn't I combine that process? Because that would be more effective. I hear it in what you're saying because you're kind of like going like, like
Well,
hitting yourself a little bit as you're talking about it.
yes, we have moved on. No, but I think it's what's so interesting,
But let me just finish
yeah,
the
please,
one
yeah.
sentence I want to say here. But what we have to understand, and I think is the most important takeaway here, is that there's such a wisdom in the body, and the body was preventing you from doing that to protect you.
Mm.
And he was so wise that you got to go like this. Go with me like this.
Big hug.
Go like this.
Yes.
Go like this. Do it. Go ahead. And go, thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy. Because your body was so smart
Yes.
to do that and to stop you and prevent you from doing that. And because of that, you were able to heal because you didn't overwhelm your system at a time that it couldn't take long.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said, and I completely agree, and I actually,
I love you.
I went through this period probably about 6 months ago, so like at the 14-month mark, where I was just so tired emotionally. Like, it was like I had been emotionally bulldozed, and there was nothing specific there was nothing going on in my life that would have caused that feeling. To your point, I think it was my body finally saying, wow, like, and that, and I, I've come out of that, but I was just emotionally exhausted. And I can't remember a time in my life where I have ever had that feeling. There have been times that I've been sad, exuberant, and everything in between, or destroyed from a death of a friend or something. But like this was an emotional fatigue that I have never experienced it. And I, at the time, did not know what it was or why it was there. But I think you're spot on with it. It was my body finally kind of moving into that phase of the recovery, because recoveries doesn't happen overnight. It is phase, and saying, okay, now we're processing this.
Yeah. And processing is a tough job because it takes so much work. When I'm working with clients, the beginning of the session, it's always just the beginning, and then it fades away. But at the beginning, they finish the session and go like, I'm exhausted now. I'm just exhausted because you work so much internally, right? So, and then after it kind of like starts to move and it starts to release, that's it. It's not so hard. But at the beginning, you feel tired. How would you be able to do that when your body is exhausted from recovering physically, right? That's not possible. So just to respect that pace, to respect the need of the body, to respect what you need, to give it the minute, to give it a breath.
Yes, because you can, what's interesting is about all of this, you can act in a role, right? Like you can make yourself seem okay. And you can only do that for so long.
And that takes away energy if you're not really okay. And when you're in a situation that you're that vulnerable with your body, if you're pretending like this, you're really draining yourself out.
That's right. That's right. And I think too, that, and again, I don't mean to be complimenting myself here at all.
I love you.
I think there's a certain amount of courage that you need, personally, self-courage, to say, you know what, like, I'm not okay. Like, you went through this, and yeah, and I'm, professionally doing what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm tired because again, as we started off talking about, like, we're a society of like, everything is good, great, and fine. And
more than that, there's the professional image that
Yes.
everybody tries to sustain. It's not just a matter of like, I'm fine because everybody pretends, but it's also, oh, I'm professional. Like, I should show this, I should show that. Oh, what if my business gets hurt? What if right? Everybody thinks of what they look like professionally and what image they want to project of success so that they don't hurt their potential, company or job or whatever it is. So we're terrified of living with the truth on the outside.
We so are. But what I have found in my own experience, and I can only speak to that, is there is a certain amount of relief that comes when you let yourself really recognize your emotions, and when you share them with other people. I mean, I wrestled when I first went through, kind of like 6 months out, right? I really wrestled with what was I going to do with this whole thing. And I remember my first day back to class teaching at Rutgers, I walked in the classroom and I sat on the table in the front of the room, and I, introduced myself. I popped in like I always do, lots of energy and all that. And then I said, I'm going to tell you guys, I said, this is my first day back in the classroom since March. This is September of 2024. And I said, did anybody know anyone that had me, of spring semester 2024? And there were 2 students in the class, and they raised their hand. They're like, yeah, our friends had you. And I said, what did they say? And they said, you disappeared. And I said, you want to hear what happened? And I shared the story about what I had been through. And I remember as I was telling it, I was nervous, afraid that I was sharing too much. But the way that I ended it, and I didn't know I was going to end it this way, it just kind of happened, was I said, look, the reason I'm sharing this with you guys is I want you to know how hard I fought to be here today. And I want people in this class who want to learn and are okay and want to be here and okay learning. It's a public speaking class, so it takes a certain level of vulnerability. And I said, if you don't want to be here, that's okay. And I said, I always want to be with people that want to learn. But I said, especially this semester, I really do. And I will tell you, I have been teaching at Rutgers since 2013, and I love every minute of it. I feel like I'm just so honored to be in that classroom, as I do with all the places that I teach. But in my 13 years of teaching at Rutgers, that was the only semester I didn't have anybody at the two classes I teach. No one dropped the class. No one. 25 kids. No one.
No, I would sign up for that class if you spoke like that. I'm not kidding. Oh my God. It's so, but it's so inspirational, right? Because people don't do that. And they don't come and they show the truth and share like that and inspire you like that. Like, that's so inspiring to say that to somebody. Like, I would definitely sign up for that class and not drop out.
Well, thank you. And what it was interesting because in that experience, helped me appreciate that it's important to share, right? And what it did in that class, in those two classes by that semester, was people shared a lot. Like, they talked a lot about challenges that they faced or challenges that they had in their family or what. And it was so much more than a public speaking class. I mean, it was, and these kids would get up in front of the room in their speeches and share these stories that, you would never know that had happened to them, right? Or you would never know that, and it was, there really kind of aren't words to describe what that semester was like. And so now,
you led the way. You led the way, you opened the door for them to feel comfortable to do the same. When someone shares so openly, so vulnerably, others get the cue, oh, it's safe to do it here too. Yeah. And then the more people do it, the more it happens. You just open up like a whole connection and a camaraderie. If it was just women, I would say sisterhood, but it's probably men and women. Brotherhood and sisterhood that is so powerful. So powerful.
And it's, it's hard it's because you're making yourself vulnerable. It's hard to be open. It's hard to be so, as a matter of fact, but it felt so good. It feels so good. And so now that we're almost 2 years out, like, I always say to people, if you want to know what happened, listen to the podcast, read the blog, listen to the webinar, because it's out there. But I feel very fulfilled and satisfied, I guess is the right word, that the story is out there. That if people want to access it, they can.
I want to share with you something that's really interesting about that, because I have a good story around that. So I have a TED Talk that has 12 million views, and I'm not saying that to like go like, oh, but it's like, but when the TED Talk started to take off, tons of people wrote underneath it like comments, and my team and I sat down and and there's like thousands of comments, if not tens of thousands by now, but we took the comments and we separated them into blue, green, and red.
Okay.
Now the blue are the ones that they tell you, it's because it was about the power of seduction in our everyday life. They were like, oh, you're promoting rape, you're a whore. Like they call you the worst stuff, like the cold, right? Like that's why they're the blue. They're the cold. Then you have the red ones, the love ones, but excessive love. Marry me, give me a child. It's like you're a goddess. Like those two extremes, love and hate.
Yeah.
The green are right in the middle. They have an insight for you, something that you didn't think about. And someone wrote, she missed it just by a little bit. If she hadn't, she would have gotten a standing ovation. I'm like, oh, what did I miss?
Yeah.
So I contacted that person. I couldn't sit on the sideline and not find out. I was like, I gotta find out. So I sent a message, hi, this is a speaker here in this video. Like, what did I miss? And the person was like, oh my God, I know you were reading the comments. Like, oh my God. I said, no, but I'm serious. What did I miss? And he said, well, you're beautiful, you're successful. Of course, seduction will come easy to you. If you only show that it didn't, like, people would have probably gotten up and standing with a standing ovation for you. And as soon as the person said that, I thought, oh my God, if you only knew the truth. And the truth was, and that's my gut punch moment in life, is that when I was 11 years old, my mom got mentally sick and she was just taken away. One day I was living with her and they were just taken away. And it was like one of the hardest experiences of a lifetime. The very person that you're leaning on who takes care of your food and your shelter and like everything is gone. And it's your mom. It's the
Yeah,
person
she's
that's
right.
supposed to give you comfort. She's your comfort. And she was just gone. That's it. Like from that point on, when she came back later on, they took her completely into a mental hospital. They think she was locked up. When she came back at one point, she just wasn't the same human being anymore. And I never got my mom back, ever. I got a different person who wasn't the mom I was used to, but not my mom.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest fracture of a lifetime that
sure.
led to ultimately 10 years of suicidal thoughts. And the thing is that this is kind of like what inspired that whole journey that made me into a somatic coach, because I was trying to heal me first. My body had such huge trauma and
Yeah.
no one knew how to heal it, that I was running around the globe, and it took me 3 decades to figure it out. That by the time I figured it out, I knew exactly what works, what doesn't, what's the best solutions. I was like, wow, people shouldn't have to waste 3 decades to get here. I could do this now in like a couple of months to a year. But I know how now. It's like it's a much quicker process. But that comment, that green comment, is what changed everything, because when I heard that comment and what she said, I realized they don't understand why I'm doing that, which is why they don't join, because they don't know my why.
Yeah.
And then when I started to speak about my why, people started to come and go like, I want to learn from someone who walked the path.
Yeah.
For years, I hated not because of shame. I hated because I said, I don't want to be defined by my past. I want to be defined by my future and what I'm creating and not what happened to me. But that piece was so important for them to understand why I'm doing, to connect with me, to want to come and work with me.
Well, it's funny you say that, because when I was in your home country of Portugal, giving a talk on resilience and
I'm
leadership,
actually not from Portugal. I'm just living in Portugal, just to correct, because it's not fair.
not a bad place to be. Anyway, so I was at this conference in Porto and I gave my talk, which is online somewhere. And I've been experimenting with how do you talk about, what I've been through. Cause I'm not going to do a 45-minute sob story on, how I battled back from death. Like, it's like, no one needs that, but that's what people were interested in. And I had this whole more corporate for women, female leaders focused on resilience and leadership and gender and blah, blah, blah. And there were like 5 minutes for questions at the end. And one of the people raised their hand. She's like, I don't have a question. I have a comment. She goes, I wish that you had spent 40 minutes talking about what you've been through and what you learned. She said, because it's so interesting. And she said, it's your why. Exactly what you said. It's your why. She goes, of course, I want to hear about your theories on leadership and gender, blah, blah, blah. But she goes, the fact that you navigated what you navigated on your own, and the fact that you came out the other end, and the fact that you have the courage to be up here and share the story with us today, that's what I find fascinating.
That's the leadership, right? That's the leadership. And more than that, there's the lessons that you learn when you go through that. Like if people ask me, like, what is it that you've learned so much from that gut punch moment, right? Like, is that I didn't even know how strong and resilient I was till it took me decades to come out of this. And there was a moment in my life that was a turning point for me, like a real turning point.
When was that?
When I was 20 years old.
Okay.
I already had 10 years of suicidal thoughts as a kid because I couldn't live with my reality. I couldn't get out of my reality. My mom was my mom. I couldn't fire her and go somewhere else. And she was a very kind person, but she was just very sick. She didn't know what she was doing. And there was no way out. So that no way out turned into suicidal thoughts that I lived with for 10 years, kind of surviving my life. And at 20, I reached rock bottom. I hit
And
rock bottom.
was it a moment? Was it an incident? Like what got you to rock bottom?
Rock bottom, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was in pain. I was suffering. I had so many emotions. Like I was constantly getting rejected because I was hyperactive. There was just, everything was broken. Looking back, now that I know what I know, everything was broken. Trust was broken. Boundaries were broken. I couldn't lean on someone else. Like just everything, my whole base was broken. And it's like, and you're trying things and things don't work and you're failing and you're getting rejected. And it's like time after time after time after time. And you're getting hurt and at one point, you just can't take it anymore. You just can't take it anymore. How many more hits can you take? You reach a point where at one point you go like, enough, like I can't take it anymore.
Yes.
And I found myself sitting on the street in the sun for an hour and asking myself, I don't know how I knew to do that because I was speaking to my body, to the wisdom in my body. And I asked myself, I said, do you want to live or do you want to die?
Yeah.
And it wasn't a question like panic, or it was like, I was looking for an answer, for a truth, to align with myself. Don't ask me how I knew to do that, because to this date, I don't know how I knew to do that. But I was sitting there, and for an hour, I was waiting. I said, do you want to live or do you want to die? And I was looking for a feeling. And after an hour of sitting there, an hour was just what had happened. It could have been a week, right? But it was an hour in this case. I got this rush of like, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this. And then I knew I wasn't done with life. And what I promised myself that day was a promise. And I don't ever break my promises. It's set in stone. I said, then you got to fight till you find the way out. And you don't give up till you get there. And then the next decade, I fought super hard to try and find a way. And every time I fixed something that I thought was broken, and then it's like, I thought, it's going to work. It fell apart. And it was just like 10 years of like fixing something, and it breaks. And it's like, and just going like, and I would cry to my friend, like, would it ever end? Will it ever end? She just keep going. Just keep going. You'll find the way. Keep going. And at like 30, it came together. And there's a moment where I tried something after, it's like and I was like waiting for the moment for things to break, and they stopped breaking. I was like, wow, it's like, I'm okay. I'm okay. And I was so excited and so thrilled about being okay that I was like, oh my God, I'm okay. And then I got 5 minutes later, it felt completely down. Like, that's it? That's it? 10 years I worked to get here and I'm just okay? Like, what? And then it was really interesting, because then I made another choice. I said, then you know what? Okay is not good enough after that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I want phenomenal. I want amazing. I want to get to the point where I'm living a life that I'm like, it's like, to me, a dream life where I'm going like, it was worth that tough journey. That something amazing came out of it. So I kept going. And then I found this 𝗘𝗶𝘀 and like all of these secrets of embodiment and things that make you feel like a goddess. I was like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then when I found it out, I was like, now that I'm embodied in it and I'm talking about seduction, I'm doing this, now I'm happy. Now it was worth the journey. And I think, when that young lady said to you, like, that's what I want to hear, is because we have such lessons that we learn along the way. My perseverance is thick. Like, if I set my mind to something, trying to get me off it. Like, a lot of people, like, they just try, it doesn't work. A month, 2, 3, they give up, like, I'll stay there the 10 years, a decade, the 2 decades, because I've learned, like, there are lessons. If I ask you, what's your biggest lesson, for example, that you got out of that experience that's like now sticks with you, that's so strong?
Well, I know there's 2 things, interestingly enough. So before my whole thing, I was always a believer of the word no, right? I write about it. I speak about it. Like, to me, the greatest motivating word is no. No, you can't do it, right? And I know that, like, if you tell me, no, you can't do that, I'm like, no, watch me. And it might take a year. It might take 5 years. It might take a decade, but I will get there. But I think
you and I are the same. We're twins.
And I'm happy to say my daughter, who probably is never going to listen to this episode, she's inherited that same trait. And I love that so much about her. But I think the other thing for me has been, prior to what I went through, I was afraid of dying. I was absolutely, positively afraid of it, and then I almost did. And now I'm like, okay, like, check that box off, almost died, and my change is my belief that there is no time to waste, right? Mm-hmm. So something bad happens, fine, acknowledge it and move on, because you never know. I always said, if a bus hit me, would I be happy with everything that I did? And yes, and a bus did hit me and it almost took me out.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm okay. And I'm here talking to you, and I never would be talking to you had I not had what happened to me. So, that's the silver lining in my tale of woe. And that's a good thing. But I think, as we've been talking about, I let myself heal. I let myself acknowledge that it was a pretty, pardon my language, shitty situation that I had to get through. And I don't resent what happened to me. I don't like what happened to me, but I don't resent what happened to me. And I'm not going to spend the rest of my life saying, what if I had done this and what if I did that? Because I didn't do anything wrong. I went to I did everything right, and still, like, this weird thing happened to me, and I'm okay. So I think for me, what I've learned is that if you let yourself acknowledge the sadness, let yourself move on, you will. And I think that fear sometimes is what prohibits us from moving forward. I said this I think it was an episode a few weeks ago. And this sounds so self-serving, but I'll say it. What motivated me to get better was me. Like, I looked at my LinkedIn picture, right? I just had headshots done before the whole thing happened. I had a good blowout. I would look at that picture laying in the hospital bed, and I was like, I want to be that person again. And every nurse that came in the room, not every doctor, the nurses, I'd show them, like, this is me. And they're like, that is you. And you're going to get back there. And I did. Right? And so
You,
I
you
think
see,
that,
you're inspired yourself to get there
yes,
by looking, can I give you a little tip here that I think will be really interesting also for the listeners?
please look.
There's something that I teach that's really important, and that is that to have real resilience in life, you need to have emotional anchors. And we gain emotional anchors from anything that we're proud of. I see you get really emotional. What are you getting emotional about before
No,
we
I
move
just because
on?
you're so right with all of this. Keep going. You're so right with all of
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay. So with emotional anchors, things that we're proud of. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm proud of the impact that I made, of what I created. Like when we're proud of my values, right? When we're proud about stuff. What you did, you anchored in what you're proud of who you are.
Yep.
So you look at that picture and you were proud of the person that you've become, and you're very comfortable in your own skin and what you've created, and the voice that you've created and the message that you give, and how you show up in the world, how you walk in the world, how you breathe in the world. And you looked at that person and said, I'm proud of that version.
It's very
And
true.
you anchor strong in that pride of who you are. And that is an emotional anchor that gives you strength to move forward. I moved to Portugal in 3 weeks. I opted out of where I was because things were going crazy where I was. And I opted out in 3 weeks, and I got to a country 2 years ago that I didn't know anything about, didn't speak the language, didn't know a soul in here, and just like landed with a suitcase, like it just went like push the eject button, the chair flew out, and then it landed in Portugal. And I was like, I know something good is happening in Portugal because a lot of people are coming here. But I escaped to Portugal to escape where I was and what was going on, because like turmoil was coming and it was just crazy. It's one people say, how did you do that? I said a lot of emotional anchors that I stuck in. I
Yeah.
gave up my apartment, my car, everything that I had, like all the people that I had around me. Like I had such a comfortable life. And I had so many emotional anchors, like things that I was just proud of myself for that no one can take away from me. And just proud, right? Like you're proud of who you are. You feel good about who you are. And then you anchor in that. That gives you so much power to move forward. It's not, you didn't anchor in your looks. You anchored in who you are and held on for dear life to come back to that. And that gave you the power to come back to that.
Yeah. No, I didn't know I was doing that at the time, but that is that exactly. Everybody you need something to motivate you.
Yeah. Yeah. I did the same. I did the same with my TED Talk. I moved away from Canada after living 17 years there, and I went back home and I came, I was a TED speaker, best-selling author, I was like feeling good about myself. And I come and everybody goes like, prove yourself. That doesn't mean anything here. And I was like, what? Anywhere else you go, like whatever you did mean something. It didn't really mean anything. I had to start from scratch. And every time that I felt like a breaking point, I would put the video again of my TED Talk and I would watch that and I would say, no one forced you to come here. It was a choice you made. Look at that. You did it once, you can do it again. And that was the mantra constantly. Just keep going. You did it once, you can do it again. It's tough. Yes, it's tough. I cried. The moment I cried, but I didn't regret my choice.
That's kind of the like ideal thing, I think. Like,
Right.
you're
There are moments that are just difficult. Yeah, there are moments that are just hard. You're making changes and you're like, what was I thinking? But when you check inside, it was the right choice. It was the right choice.
Yes, because the question when you're going through a trauma like that is like, are you better off now than like whatever the situation was?
That wasn't a trauma. That wasn't a trauma. That was a choice that was just tough. There's a difference between a trauma and just situation that's tough. Traumatic is something that our nervous system cannot hold. I could hold the situation. It was just hard to hold it, but I could hold it despite it being hard. That's not trauma.
Yeah, that's a good differentiation. Yeah, and I think too, like trauma and choice get confused.
Sometimes it can be.
And sometimes you have a trauma that causes you to make choices, and we could talk about this for hours.
That's a loop in itself that can go round and round.
But I have thoroughly, I have enjoyed this discussion. I literally could sit here all afternoon and talk to you. but I
Me
have to
too.
go. But it's like 10 o'clock, or is it 9 o'clock at night where you are? I have to let you go.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Um, but you and I are I'm going to get to Portugal this summer to see you. So I will. Oh no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be in Italy.
We're so going to hang out. We're so going to hang out.
Yes, yes. I really look forward to that. So, Hen, first of all, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing. And I really appreciate what you're doing. I really appreciate how you're helping people. I found the conversation fascinating. And I have so many follow-up questions that I'm definitely going to set up time to talk to you about. So just thank you for taking the time to be on. And if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way?
Amazing. So first of all, thank you for having me. That has been such a beautiful conversation. I love you. I just love you.
Yeah.
And for people to get a hold of me, so first of all, they can go to somaticgift.com, and I left there 3 different free masterclasses that people can do about femininity, about healing trauma, about finding love if you're blocked in love. So it's just like, so they can really kind of start to learn. All 3 masterclasses are free. And when they're on the site, typically if people want to come and work with me, they can go on the site, they can fill an application if they want to work with me, or they can there's a 15-minute call. If you're not sure yet and you're not ready to apply fully, they can just jump on a 15-minute call with me, and, we can have a chat and see where they are, what's going on. If we see that it's in the right direction, we'll still do a bigger call, because always, when I'm working with clients, I make sure that we dig deep to see first what is going on, to see that I can really help them. I'm not interested in taking someone's money just to take the money. I've been in this journey myself. It's about whether I can help you. If I'll help you, I'll tell you. And if not, I'll tell you why I cannot help you, and then tell you where to go that can help you. So people are welcome to come and reach out through the site. And I'm always on Instagram. That's my favorite place to be, or on Substack. So Substack is, I just discovered my Substack, and I just created this amazing place. It's just magical with all the stuff that I love to talk about. So the site is more, business-ish, and this is like the place where like all the joy is happening. So either Substack or Instagram is where they can find and hang out with me if they want to come and hang out.
I love that. I've got to get on my Substack. You're inspiring me to do that. And thank you. I mean, just thank you. Such a great conversation. And I look forward to more of that and meeting you in person at some point in the near future.
Thank you.
Good stuff. And thank you all for listening to another episode of Gut Punch. Looking forward to chatting with you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
That's it for today's episode of Gut Punch. I hope you found inspiration, because no matter how hard life hits, there's always a way forward. Make sure to follow or subscribe to Gut Punch on your favorite podcast platform. If you know someone who could use a little inspiration, share this episode with them. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay strong. See you in the next episode.